All right, welcome back to episode 34 of the 20 Pages Book Club. On today's episode, we start our third book of the year, The Wager by David Grann. As Tyler mentions, he was our 20 Pages Author of the Year last year. So we get started on our third book of the year, talking through chapters 1 through 17. Then we play a game of Scriblio, and we also have a new platform we're posting on, so we'll be talking about that as well, probably mixing with our weekend recap. Yeah, but I got excited to be back. Let's go. All right, we're back. Episode 34, The Wager, third book of the year. But before we get into that, we have some things to talk about. We have some weekend recaps to go over, as well as a new platform. So why don't we do weekend recap first, and then we'll get into Fable. Kevin, start us off.
I'm
Nice,
trying
nice
to
little awkward
remember,
pause.
what I did this weekend even.
Yeah, I just want to preface this too with the boys seem really squirrely today. So this is I just keep
It's
looking
mostly
around.
just
I keep looking around and I see Brazel like he's about to die, like he's wrestling the air. Uh, yeah. So over the past, I don't even remember what I did 2 weekends ago. This past weekend, one of my friends from back home visited me. Uh, her and I went out with some friends to watch the Iowa game Friday night. Saturday, I made her. What do you mean?
A
Brazel
lot of
got
hanging
me.
out, a lot of hanging out with this friend back home.
Yeah, and then Saturday morning I made her bike with me while I did my 10-mile long run, and I don't know if she liked that very much, but she did it. So, and then Saturday night went out to dinner, had a good weekend. So,
Sounds like
glad
stuff,
you Christian.
sounds like stuff you do with friends.
Shout out Brazel, Christian.
I I went to my sister's lacrosse game on Saturday because she was playing at Saint Ignatius. And then we went out to we went out to eat. I'm
The
struggling.
boys are struggling.
we're
And then
slow today.
we went out to eat at this Mediterranean small plate restaurant. Um Absolutely housed some food. Convinced everyone to order more food than we should have so that I could eat more. Um yeah, that and
Better
then
move.
went to open they have an open mat Sunday class now at jiu-jitsu, which is like my shit. Um just roll out of bed and roll with other men, grapple with other men. Just first thing, great way to start the week. So
Yeah, I do that sometimes
Respect.
unofficially,
unofficially by choice. I guess you do it
same.
by choice as well, but
Kevin does it with
Yeah.
all his friends.
yeah, the boys and us, we roll out of bed. First thing we do is grapple.
Sometimes I'll just unofficially find myself grappling another man.
Nice.
All
Yeah,
right.
we're in the same boat.
Brazel, take it away.
I had the pleasure to watch both national championships.
Here we go.
Bray's
Man
got
was
the jazz. Bray's got the
man was
jazz hands going.
waiting to use the hands.
Hands are essential to speaking. Um, I got to watch both national championships, both the men's and women's. It was an honor to watch both of them. Iowa, just a great effort by them. I was really proud of their effort. Just kidding. The crying Hawkeyes lose again. Crying Caitlin Clark down back to back losses. Unbelievable. Iowa fans will never be happy because it's a sad state. It's a sad university, and I bask in their tears. And then the men's national championship wasn't interesting at all because Purdue couldn't find a second person that could shoot the ball. So that was my weekend for the most part. Went to a nice Italian restaurant on Sunday, but it was fun.
Where'd
Jared,
you go with?
But
That's
it was a
it.
first date that didn't go that well. So I mean, it went fine.
Did you bring?
It was nice.
Did you bring up our suggestions?
Well,
Didn't use any of our veteran moves.
Yeah. Did you use any? Or
probably
maybe
a
that's
couple of
where
things. I would have to
maybe that's where it went wrong.
Yeah, that's where it went wrong. I don't know. We had a nice conversation. We clearly didn't see eye to eye on certain things. So yeah. All right, Jared, how was your weekend?
It's pretty uneventful. I'm gonna be back in Chicago full time, so that was probably the biggest news of the weekend.
Very
So
exciting.
we'll be singing the boys a lot more often, which will be nice. Other than that, kind of did the same thing as Tyler. Watched some games, gambled on some sports. Yeah, it was entertaining. So that was pretty much it for me. But yeah, why don't we talk about the new platform we're on really quick?
Or
Tyler,
not.
do you want to talk about how you found this platform, and then we can talk about how we're going to integrate it into the book club?
There was no exciting way I found the platform. I was just scrolling through TikTok and I found a guy that reads books, and he was like, look through the links in my bio to find out where I'm reading and what I'm reading, and I got brought to a link for an app called Fable, and I discovered it was kind of like a Discord for um book club. So it seemed like a good opportunity to put ourselves on there. So if you want to join, it's the 20 pages book club on Fable, and you can follow along with what we're reading in live time if you don't want to wait for podcasts. So I'm sure we're all gonna keep putting comments in there. I've tried to keep up with that. So um, yeah, share your thoughts in there. Share images, memes. Maybe I'll just for the next book I'll create a whole section for memes. I think I could do that. I'm still trying to figure out some stuff on there.
It's a little wonky still. So that's the beginning app. So
Yeah.
I just imagine us kind of phasing out maybe our Discord, at least for the time being, and moving it to Fable. I think it's a lot easier just to connect with the broader audience, and obviously there's like individuals who like reading. But yeah, I think we have 7 members. We'll see where we can get at the end of the year. Maybe we'll try to get to a certain goal. But yeah, I think it'll be a lot easier for all the people everyone to stay more kind of engaged with the reading and post comments or thoughts. Just because it's on an app, it's easier. So yeah, follow us along there. And I'm sure as the app grows, we'll also incorporate some more things. Anybody have anything else to say about it?
Hand up, I didn't post because I was behind on the reading, but I like how it's like immersive with the ebook. Like it brings in the chapters and you can post on specific chapters. I always find myself like having a thought as I'm reading, like, oh, I want to mention this like in just the group chat that we have. And usually I will do something like that. But it's nice to be able to like post it for everyone who follows along to see and drive a larger discussion.
Yeah, and a lot of the times when we're reading, it's like I don't want to text something in the group chat that we're gonna discuss about in the book club. So it's a nice way to actually keep notes instead of just I fold the corners of my pages a lot of like parts I want to talk about, and then I go back and look at them and I'm like, what part of this page that I want to talk about? And then I just end up not saying anything.
Yeah.
So
And maybe
that'll be nice.
maybe in future meetings when I'm going through the chapter summaries, I'll look through the Fable chat and see if I could find if people have comments written in there. I could bring them up during the actual discussion.
Oh, are we not doing that today?
No.
Brazel has Tyler's thoughts after every single chapter. So
Well, I wasn't.
that's not
Tyler's thoughts are just things that jog my memory. It's not actual talking points.
oh, okay.
Okay.
I have a Fable related question. Do any of you guys like use reading to avoid screen time? Because the issue that I run into is, okay, how do you like what do you do to track your thoughts then? Like, do you just highlight them for later and then write them down?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I do it usually before bed because it helps me get tired, and so that I'm less on my phone before I go to bed.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of do it. But I'll just have my phone next to me. Sorry, I'll have my phone next to me, and I'll just
Pick
go through
pick it up.
just pick it up, and it's not probably the best way to doing it, but I don't have want to have a notebook next to me while I'm reading. So
I think
Yeah, I don't either.
I think if you finish a chapter and then pick up the phone and then like put down like write it quick and then put down the phone again, like as long as you're not stopping yourself in the middle of chapters and like
Yeah.
like in the one chapter where I posted the video about I forgot their name, the Indian tribe. I was like just curious about them, so I just went on YouTube and then just like copied the link and just posted in there. Like, it's not super high level stuff, but
Gotcha.
I don't know. I just try to do it before bed because big thing is for me was like to be on my phone before bed. So I tried reading instead, and that's helped because it makes me tired and less on my phone. So
Yeah.
All right. Everyone ready
yeah, that
for
was
chapter 1?
Fable. Yeah, that was Fable, and follow us there, and we'll post links in the bios and stuff. But yeah, Tyler, take it away.
Part 1, The Wooden World, Chapter 1, The First Lieutenant. We're introduced to First Lieutenant David Cheap. Like many sailors, the sea offered him an escape from the troubles he faced on land. And, in January of 1740, the prospects of war with Spain were mounting. With that, an opportunity to captain his own ship. For a long time, he had served as right-hand man to George Anson, who was the captain of the Centaurian. However, promotion was called, and Anson was sent to command a battleship. Taking a step back, the war between Britain and Spain was a battle between two of the world's superpowers, hoping to expand their imperialistic desires. In 1738, Robert Jenkins, a British merchant, appeared in Parliament claiming an attack by the Spanish in Latin America. In response, Britain sent 186 ships to the Caribbean. To play his part, George Anson was sent on a secret mission, one that dabbled into piracy. However, haste was not applicable in this scenario. Ships took months to repair and cost significant amounts of money, so for months they sat. While the man-of-war ships began their repair journey, a lonely bastard sat on the side. The Wager. A merchant ship by trade, it was now being completely redone to support the new war efforts, led by ship captain Dandy Kidd. While excited for the opportunity, Kidd acknowledged the silliness of the ship and its prospects. After months of work and freezes, the ship arrived in Portsmouth. For now, the battalion would have to make do with conscripted servicemen. Soon enough, the new seamen were already struggling with typhus, although that was unknown at the time. Facing a shortage of men, the British government forced conscription, using gangs to round up adequate sailors and force them to Portsmouth. However, once they arrived, many deserted. As a result, Anson was forced to dock the ships a distance away from port. With that, ships were made up of aging veterans, London criminals, untrained recruits, and a small subset of volunteers. So, on August 23rd, 1740, the group of ships sounded their alarms and set off on their journey. The strong winds faced them and turned them back. That happened again, and again, and again. Finally, on September 18th, they were free from the British coast, blue seas all around them. All right, opening chapter. Do you guys have any initial thoughts, feelings?
I don't remember this chapter at all, to be honest. You reading that back just unlocked memories. It was so long ago when I read it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really retain much besides that the Wager was kind of, like you said, the forgotten ship. The crew was kind of a hodgepodge together. They couldn't find enough men, and that was kind of all I really took from this chapter.
Yeah, I don't see the purpose from the start. I don't see the purpose in like what they're setting off to do. It seems kind of a silly undertaking. I don't know if there's a lot of meaning. Like they're playing a very small ripple in overall Anglo-Spanish conflict that has gone on for ages at this point. Avenging a man whose ear was cut off by sacking a Spanish ship with loot on it seems kind of absurd.
Sending 4 ships, yeah, seems a little bit
We learned
unnecessary, but
the word armada.
Armada?
Man, I tried to put an N in there, but armada. Yeah, it seemed like half the ships were good seafaring ships, and then the other half were like the Wager, just merchant ships that were probably not meant to ever really leave the English Channel or the channel between European trade, and now they're putting it up against. I mean, you're sailing against the Gulf Current, and then they're gonna sail south of the Pacific or south of South America, in the worst region of the world for uh waves. So there's a lot of bad choices here. So and not easy sailing. So we'll see how it develops. Chapter 2, A Gentleman Volunteer.
Oh, wait, I have another thought. Like the map at the start, I don't know if anyone has the hardcover, but the hardcover has a map like right off the
Mhm.
bat. I find myself, I know we've always said in the past, like, oh, it'd be so helpful if there was a map. Like, I find myself referring back to this constantly.
No, it's great. This Indifferent Stars Above needed a map because
Yeah. And I guess I never, like, we read about the Drake Passage during Endurance, and for some reason I've never understood like how close Chile and like Patagonia is to Antarctica, and that the Drake Passage is the intermediary between those two bodies of land. I'm a
yeah,
geography dummy, so maybe others did realize this, but I had no idea.
Shout out our good friend Kyle, who's actually in Patagonia
I
right now.
did see that. I saw on his Instagram story.
yeah. I just texted him actually about that. But yeah, no, I think this put in perspective a little bit of the endurance a little bit more, and I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of parallels just because the given nature um, to the story. But it just kind of made me appreciate a little bit more of how they were able to do that in those tiny boats going through the Drake Passage. But shout out the endurance.
Shout out the endurance. All right, chapter 2. We have a lot of chapters, so I will keep a little bit of pace to this. Gentleman volunteer. We're introduced to 16-year-old John Byron, a midshipman on the Wager. Like most days, he was awoken by John King, the ship's boatswain, the person tasked with keeping order among the ship. King wasn't well viewed by the other men, and most dreaded him and his temper. Byron had grown up wealthy and had left a wealthy Westminster Academy to volunteer in the Navy. In return for taking such a bad job as a noble, he would be offered an officer position after a couple of years in service. Byron took his position on the quarterdeck under Captain Kidd and Lieutenant Robert Baines. Under them, a subset of complex social groups that went about their daily work on the ship. This included groups such as the Army, men tasked with the sails, the people doing the dirty work, and the route mappers. As an officer in training, Byron had much more work to do, because he had to learn everything, even the captain's duties and responsibilities. Soon enough, he started to grow into the culture and gain camaraderie with his fellow shipmates. He was known as a tricky card player and took in the wonderful sea stories of his messmates. On the morning of October 25th, the group of ships approached Madeira off the coast of northwest Africa, a well-temperatured island with even better wine. The last stop before a 5,000-mile-long journey to the coast of Brazil. Anson ordered the crews to work in haste. The journey had already taken them weeks longer than they had intended. The crews were now battling with the dreaded prospect of facing Cape Horn during the winter. In another sign of bad luck, on November 3rd, Captain of one of the ships, Richard Norris, resigned. The resignation forced a wave of promotions to occur. First, Kidd was promoted to the Pearl, George Murray to the Wager, and finally, out of officers, David Sheep was given command of the Trial. In addition to the new leadership, Anson's secret mission had leaked, and the Spanish had set out an armada to intercept the British fleet, led by Don Jose Pizarro. The British were now being hunted. I guess my first topic of conversation, I kind of thought, like, once the Spanish were introduced that they were coming, I thought they were going to get, like, chased throughout, but they kind of just disappeared until, like, a couple chapters later. I don't know, did anyone else get the feeling like that was going to be a main focus of the book? Like,
I had no idea what they were going to focus on in this book. I just knew it was like a shipwreck. I didn't realize like the whole case stuff and like the trial later on, I guess.
I was
So
guessing that this chase would like ultimately lead to the shipwreck, I guess. Like they would like during trying to evade the Spanish, they'd somehow wreck their ship, which I guess wasn't like exactly the case.
yeah. I mean, when you think of how vast the sea is, it's not surprising they didn't really interact with the Spanish that much, but um, it kind of
and considering how they didn't really have like any navigational tools besides a compass.
they're just shooting
They didn't
darts.
they didn't really understand the longitude and latitudes as well as obviously current day. So
I
probably easy
think
to see why things went haywire.
I think maybe the Spanish realized like how Hail Mary of an attempt this was for the British, because they control the whole western part of South America. So they've gone. They're familiar with the Drake Passage, and maybe they were just like, we'll let them be. Let them be the masters of their own fate and like crumble in the Drake Passage.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just there to intimidate them a little bit.
It was interesting. You always hear about in history about the British controlling the sea and like having naval dominance over other countries, but like this makes it seem like the British are constantly on the run. Like they don't even want to see the sight of a Spanish fleet. Maybe they were just truly outnumbered in that circumstance, but
Well, I think at this time, like the explorer period, wasn't Portugal and Spain, weren't they the two main powers?
Yeah.
Or did it, I know it kind of always fluctuated, but
I think they were the first two. They split the world in half and said, "This is yours. This is yours." The Catholic Church did. The Pope did. And then I think around this time is when Britain started to play a larger role. Because on the map you can see they're the British colonies. Well, we're in the 1700s. The British colonies already exist in North America.
yeah. All right. Chapter 3, The Gunner. The Armada worked in haste to their battle positions, preparing for the worst of combat. However, it was no real attack. It was just Commodore Anson drilling the fleet. From there, we're introduced to the head of arms on the wager, John Kelly. He was a man of great experience and well respected for his gritty rise to his position. Soon enough, the Armada was battling threats. The first came as a scare, however, it only turned out to be a Dutch merchant ship. The second was invisible. It was typhus, and on the ocean in close compartments, it was deadly. After a short period, the officers were holding emergency meetings, the sick continued to pile up, and the wager took its first victim. In a ceremony, he was tossed from the deck. By December, more than 65 members of the squadron had been buried at sea. On December 17th, they spotted land. It was the island of St. Catherine, just off the coast of Brazil. While the sight was a great relief, more than 80 would perish on the island, unable to recover from their condition. While the island allowed reprieve, the mission was still at hand. On the first night's back sailing, they were greeted by a storm. After its conclusion, the Pearl and Captain Dandy Kidd were nowhere to be found. After several weeks, they found the group. They had been hunted by the Spanish and barely survived, losing most of their supplies in sacrifice of speed. Lastly, losing Kidd himself to fever. With that, David Cheap was promoted to ship captain. A lot of peace in there. So we're kind of introduced to the two main characters that will eventually sort of follow, or at least in my opinion, which is John Kelly and David Sheep. Any thoughts?
We also get like a deep dive into all like the roles on the ship. I remember just looking through my comments on Fable, talk about like the carpenters, the navigators, the various positions, and I feel we kind of were introduced to this in Endurance. There was kind of a similar chapter, kind of get everybody's roles, what everybody's doing on the ship. And I also had a note. I would like to hear Kevin sing the song on page 36.
Hey, Kevin, hit us with the rendition.
Page 36, you say?
Do you want to? Christian will give you a beat.
No, it's like one of those like
Okay.
They cut off his ears and slit his neck with a jeer. They give him his ears, saying, "Take it to your master in disdain." But our king, I can tell, loves his subjects so well that he'll curb the haughty pride of Spain.
All right. Woo! All
I
right.
don't think I got the beat down there, but
All right. Well,
I think I was a little bit off with
that that was a good sea shanty.
Yeah.
All right.
I looked up what typhus was because I remember reading it and I was like, "What is that?" Call back to I think it was Lost City of the Monkey Gods. Chiggers spread typhus. I think that was one of my draft picks back in Lost City of the Monkey God. But it looks like it's just little bites, and then all of a sudden you get like 105-degree fevers. So I can see how that would be deadly, especially back in that age.
Especially
They talk about a lot throughout these chapters, like how the lack of medical expertise was just not there. They were just like they just basically thought that God was like in control of all these diseases, and like it was like as simple as them not getting enough vitamin C for scurvy and stuff like that, which I thought was interesting.
yeah, if they just
I've been
ate
reading
enough
a lot of
celery.
There's a lot of books like that, 1700s and 1800s, where us looking back with modern medicine is just like, wow.
Thank God for modern medicine.
I don't know if this was still a thing at this time period, but like doctors at this time used to just bleed people who fell sick. They would just like cut them and like bleed them out because they thought
The bad blood out.
yeah, they get the bad blood out.
Sounds like a good strategy to
Got
me.
a point. Got a point.
If I had no clue what was going on, I'd probably try that one.
No, I'm not trying to say that I would know what I would be doing back then. It's just crazy to see how people thought.
Yeah. All right, part 2, Into the Storm, chapter 4, Dead Reckoning. David Cheap was now command of the Wager. Ahead of him was the daunting Drake Passage, widely recognized as the most dangerous part of the ocean in the world. So dangerous, the Spanish preferred to drop their cargo in Panama and carry it over the jungle to their controlled territory. So, when David Cheap approached his new office, he set about plotting their location. Very easily, he calculated his latitude. However, at the time, latitude, or I don't think that's supposed to be longitude. However, at the time, latitude wasn't calculable. Which one is not calculable? At the time, I forget.
I thought longitude was like the
Okay.
east-west. Or yeah, because latitude is
Ladder.
like ladder steps or ladder pegs.
All right, whatever.
How about AP hug?
Therefore, they simply threw out an educated guess. And then I wrote in parentheses, didn't realize a sextant wasn't invented yet, so I had to look that one up. It was invented in the 1700s, but not till later. In addition, what Cheap didn't know was that he was sailing into the Horn at the most dangerous time of the year, March. By March 7th, they approached the passage. The ships made one last stop, exchanging notes and making repairs. In the morning, the cannon sounded and the mission began. The first day was easy. The ships seemingly were gently pushed towards the Pacific with a nice wind and clear skies. The night brought terror. The Wager, the most inefficient, had no command of itself, a victim of the currents. The other ships watched in horror as the Wager came closer and closer to the shore. However, Cheap led them strong. After a long battle, they had broken the currents. Cheap, well recognized by his men for his efforts. All right, so a good introduction for Cheap at the start here. He takes command and brings the ship back into sea. But obviously, it's going to go downhill from here. But this is his proudest moment. I
I
did.
think I actually had a comment on Fable was like thoughts on Captain Cheap. Obviously, that gets answered a little bit later, but
Yeah, I think to to answer your talking point, Tyler, where you put in retrospect, is this mission really stupid? Not to get too deep into corporate speak here, but Christian has been talking a lot about retrospectives in our group chats, and sometimes you keep doing the same repetitive thing over and over. You don't take a second to stand back, reflect on what you were doing. Is this really worth it? Do we have the right processes? And maybe if they would have taken that time, then they would have realized what they were doing
I think-
wasn't it.
Yeah,
the biggest note should have been when your enemy is rather carry their stuff across a jungle, like some of the most densest jungle in the world, rather than going across Drake Passage. So I don't know.
yeah. I think Christian said early on in this meeting that this mission was just stupid from the get go. I mean, what are they doing? I guess they just didn't know. But
I have a fun fact. The Drake Passage was the first recorded successful voyage was in 1616. William Schouten. He also named Cape Horn on the journey.
well, shout out him. Real sailor.
And
Respect.
and thinking about it now, you guys remember when the Endurance journey took place? Time period?
It was a little bit after 18 something.
Any other guesses?
I was gonna guess like late 1790s.
No,
Okay.
I was going
Uh,
1830.
Okay. 1914 to 1970.
Okay. Wait.
Yeah, I thought it was like just after this.
No, no. I knew it was after this, but I guess I didn't realize in the 1900s.
I clearly don't remember that book though.
Anyways, okay.
All right, chapter 5, The Storm Within the Storm. The waves continued to pound the ship. The Wager was now continuously flooded throughout the decks. Men were forced to live within a constant wetness. Soon enough, that rain turned into snow, causing frostbite among the crew. Among other things, they were also succumbing to scurvy, killer of more men at sea than anything else. What the crew didn't know was that scurvy is caused by a lack of vitamin C, heavily due to the lack of fruits and vegetables. Without proper knowledge, many continued to descend to death. Between the ships, over 1,000 sailors died. The deaths included Henry Cheap, David's nephew. For 3 weeks, they had failed to break the Drake Passage. Their only hope was the Juan Fernandez Islands, 350 miles off the coast of Chile. In April, Byron finally made the decision that they had traveled enough west. They would now turn north. He was wrong. Quickly, they were greeted by the coastline rocks. With that, they headed back south into the eye of the storm. Yeah, their navigators have no idea where they are. Basically, half the crew has just died to the environment at this point. I mean, this is just the worst mission ever.
Yeah. They're just tossing bodies overboard. Daily routine.
I think they mentioned that they gave up at a certain point. Like they just stopped.
Just
Like-
doing all the rituals and stuff.
No one had enough time or energy to actually start tossing people overboard.
Oh, go ahead, Christian.
I was gonna say they originally had upwards of 200 people on watch, and like at a certain point there were just 6 people on deck, manning the ship.
In reality, do you need 200 people to watch open water? They're just definitely trying to find stuff for people to do. Hey, man, you're on watch.
Are you gonna show your picture, Jared?
Yeah, I was gonna show my picture and post this in the chapter on Fable, but the symptoms of what scurvy. I don't know if it's gonna show up with the glare, but if you follow us on Fable, you'll see. I was like curious to see what, because they talk about like their eyes sunken and like teeth falling out and hair falling out, and I thought it was super interesting of what it actually
There you
looked
go,
like.
Kev. Nice job.
Yeah.
Ugh. Disgusting.
Yeah.
What chapter did you post this on?
This was chapter 5. So, like they said, it was a lack of vitamin C, which another point I thought was interesting. Grant kind of does a similar thing that what David Brown of the Different Stars Above. He kind of weaves in like some fun facts and stuff like that, which I think he does a little bit better job because he doesn't take a huge of a tangent when he does it. But I liked like the bit where he talks about how that sailors are called limeys now because they finally, when they figured out what scurvy was, they started stopping for limes on these trips. So I thought that was kind of cool, and I enjoyed that when he does that throughout thus far.
All right. Well, chapter 6 and 7 are captained by none other than Kevin. So I'm gonna hand
I was
the keys over.
another note. I was Tyler. You should use a sextant for the boat this summer.
I no clue. I'll be calculating the sun.
I'm just joking because you might be the most directionally challenged person I've ever met. So
Sure, sure.
Let's not get into it. This chapter 6 felt like targeting from Brazel. Chapter 6 alone, and then in parentheses he put Kevin. Or is it-
assault.
What about the
Yeah,
Gulf of Pain?
I think that was a shot at my golf game, but
I'm already
that one later.
I'm already seeing that the start of chapter 7 is gonna be rough. But
Yeah. Well, let's get into chapter 6 first. The storms grew worse as the waves crashed against the ships, threatening to overtake them. Sorry. That's supposed to be wave. One wave tipped the Centurion completely onto its side before flipping back up. Oakley was concerned. Let me calm down. Bulkley was concerned and advised Cheap on what to do. But here's the first point where we see Bulkley start to question Cheap and some of the other sea men. On the Centurion, one of the men was literally blown into the water, and that was the last anyone saw of him. Tough. With food and water running low and scurvy still running rampant, the men were losing their sanity. The carpenters fell apart. Not sure what that is, but they fixed it. On April 10th, 1741, the Pearl and the Severn fell behind. Oh yeah, the Severn fell behind and disappeared in the fog and murk. Then the Centurion disappeared. Soon the wager was all gone.
Nice.
I don't know what just happened.
Hell of a chapter.
Basically, long story short, the wager is all by itself now.
Where'd you get that the carpenters fell apart?
It's part of the ship fell apart. Like it's part of the ship. And then they replaced it. Is that what it is?
No.
What is it?
No,
I think it was the mast. It was the mast.
Oh,
And the carpenters went to fix it.
my bad. I'm not gonna lie, I typed these up 10 minutes before. If you can't tell.
That needs to be nominated with my one. Whatever mistake I made though 2 meetings ago.
Carpenters.
All right, chapter 7.
All right.
Well, wait, I have some thoughts on this chapter.
You
The
do?
first, like they just miss 4 ships and they just never see them again. Like we're just gonna get no mentions of the other 3 ships. Like I get they could have sunk, but like it just kind of feels weird that like they were there for one moment and then like
I'm
suddenly they're gone. Like I feel like
weirdly confident that Anson makes it out at least.
I think
know.
I think he was trying to write it from the perspective of the wager, so he didn't want to bring the other ships back in. Because it's kind of ancillary to what's happening to the wager. So I think once we get to the trial, we'll figure out what happened to the other ships and how many of those crews made it.
I would also like to nominate the guy that got blown into the water as most depressing life nominee.
Just by the wind force.
Yeah, and then like they were literally like looking at him and they're like, "Well, you're stuck in the net. Sorry." And he just like they're like, there's that poem where he like just drifts away and just like drowns. Like that's got to be tough. Like that. No, it's like
He was swimming after the wager in the Drake passage, right?
yeah.
Make it no ground.
Absolute Hail Mary.
I'll try to find his name, but
I'll put his name in most depressing life. Guy that got blown off ship.
I'll try to find his name right now.
Also, Drake's Passage is where the mermaids are, right? Or the sirens or whatever they are. Pretty sure. All right,
Sure.
chapter 7.
All right.
The Gulf of Pain. Cheap started singing a lesson on Tuvlo's hit Heroes. He said to the boys, "We could do anything. We could be heroes."
Rose. We could be heroes.
Cheap continues to force the crew to trudge on and thinks he can make it through the storm. Bulkley was very unsure of the whole situation. He was not a fan of Cheap's route. Bulkley said to Lieutenant Baines that they should move out towards the sea and away from the shore, but Cheap would not budge. Long story short, they came too close to land and the wager struck a submerged rock. Amidst the chaos, Cheap fell down an open hatchway and was badly injured. The surgeon gave him opium for the pain, putting him out of commission for the rest of this. The waves continued to push the ship into more rocks, and soon there was a massive hole in the ship. Bulkley took over, and another sailor named John Jones also helped. Read that out of order and set the men to work to save the ship. They sailed through the horrible Gulf of Pain, as the area was called, and then they got stuck between 2 massive rocks. Byron climbed up as far as he could and noticed an island nearby.
Unbelievable.
That's what we like to call between a rock and a hard place.
That's what I like to. Never mind.
There's a lot of incompetency on the lieutenant's part in this chapter, I think. Someone saw the land first and didn't raise it up to David.
It was the lieutenant. I think it was.
Baines.
Yeah.
And then he told Byron, and Byron was like, well, not my problem. And so no one raised up the sighting of land.
And then once they did, they got the ship corrected, and it was just far too late, and they literally just got blown.
Yeah.
Not the good kind either.
Also, like Byron being like, what is it, 3rd in command, and he's literally like 16 years old. It's kind of insane.
Classic. Yeah, I mean, once they got separated, it was kind of clear that they were screwed because their ship was clearly not seaworthy as the other ships, and once they got separated, they're pretty much doomed because there's just no way that their ship was going to survive the Drake Passage the way it was built, or at least that's how the author portrayed it.
I actually think they would have survived had they had a competent idea of where they were at, or at least not crashed. I don't know see where they would have been after, but
Yeah, I mean, they're just guessing where they were, you know? There's no scientific method for how you could determine where you were, as the latitude and longitudes were talked about earlier, so kind of feel for them a little bit. All right. We enter part 3, Castaways. I will say the chapters get much shorter at this part of the book. I don't know if anyone else realized that. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
really
the
weird.
chapters
it starts
halved.
probably just lack of
Setup.
information.
Yeah.
It took a lot for the setup.
I kind of like it from a flow standpoint. You kind of
I was gonna say
into it.
it flows a lot better after the first four paragraphs.
And as a reader who struggles to finish chapters that are over 10 pages long, love it.
Okay. Nice. Chapter 8, Wreckage. Or part 3, Castaways, Chapter 8, Wreckage. While the boat continued to take damage from the rocking against the shoreline, Cheap arose from the medical bay, commanding everyone to take the lifeboats. With them, they could head towards the nearby island. John Bulkelly, the most senior, raced to prepare the boats. Some had already
Alright.
been destroyed by the meeting of rocks and waves. What?
Let's get to the bottom of this. Is it Bulkelly or is it Bulkley?
I say
We've said the name.
Buck-
We've said the names like 3 different ways.
I know. Let's just make a group decision
Let's,
now. And
let's look. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. How do we spell it?
I say Buckley in my head.
It's Bulkeley.
Bulk.
Wait, no, it's just spelled incorrectly in this circumstance.
How do you spell it?
B-U-K.
What Kevin just said was right.
BUK.
Bulkeley.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
look
definitely
it
been
up.
saying it wrong in my head.
Bulkelly is my.
Oh, yeah.
Buckley. It's Buckley. Bulkley. Yeah, Bulkley.
Okay, Bulkley. All right. Bulkley.
That's actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
I just didn't remember how it was spelled, and we have it spelled like 18 different ways. And
Yeah, I write 8 things at 300 miles per hour when I write these, so.
that's pretty hot.
All right. Well, the boat. Bulkley. We're going with Bulkley. All right. With them, they could head towards the near island. John Bulkley, the most senior, raced to prepare the boats. Some had already been destroyed by the meeting of rocks and waves. Even worse, some of the crew were starting to revolt, forming a faction. In addition, in an attempt to salvage the logbooks, he found them destroyed. With mostly everyone off, they finally convinced Cheap to leave with them. Of the original 250, Cheap calculated that 145 made the island. On the first night, they went inland and found local inhabitants had a small shelter. It was enough for Cheap and a few others. The remaining slept outside, some unable to wake in the morning. At first sunlight, they found the drunken crew still remained on the boat. By nightfall, they were shooting cannons, a signal that they needed rescuing. Cheap used the opportunity to assert his dominance, striking King with his, I think it was with like a cane or something. All right, I wrote down for talk points. What do you think of the missing logbooks? Someone messed with them. The book hasn't addressed it yet. Do you guys have any predictions of who that was?
Lieutenant, maybe?
It has to be someone high ranking.
What is
'Cause
the
I think Cheap was bedridden at this time, so I feel like he sent someone to do it.
and what's the motive of destroying?
I think it's Byron. Well, because they all sort of knew that if they made it back, they were all going to trial at a certain point.
Because they basically lack of incompetence of they got warned that they were too close to shore and they just didn't listen. Or somewhere it never got. Actually, it wasn't Cheap's fault really because it never got to
I
him.
think Cheap realized that if he got back and he had sunk a British ship, that they would immediately try him for incompetence.
They kind of talk about how this was Cheap's chance to kind of show his worth, and
Was it the surgeon? The surgeon
might have been.
put Cheap to sleep.
I think it's the kid. I think it's Byron. That'd be my guess. I think he was looking to prove himself to the captain and made a choice, but because throughout these chapters, like they'd make Byron a main character, but he hasn't really taken any major actions, and he's kind of been trying to play both sides. It almost seems to me like he's going to get introduced as the trial, and it's going to get revealed that he destroyed the logbooks.
Also, he was the one that like received the information and didn't pass it on to Cheap, correct?
Yeah,
So that would make him
It was
kill it.
Lieutenant and Byron that kind of there was something didn't get the Cheap about the location of the ship.
Did the tampering with the logbooks have to happen in this like minute time where they realized they were going down, or could it have been like well before after? 'Cause there was a lot of incompetence before this.
It's a good point. It could have been beforehand. I don't.
Yeah.
That's probably a choice that Gran either makes or doesn't make. I don't know. Maybe it was when Bulkley realized it, because he was like, they always talk about how he's like the super detail oriented guy, like straight as an arrow type. So I wonder if he.
It's clearly someone, an officer, soon to be officer, someone in a leadership position, but who it is will be interesting. All right, and then we got the first group that already starts just becoming a faction of their own, just starts drinking and gives up immediately. I kind of respect that group. They just they just immediately just turned to liquor. Like the ship got crashed and they're like,
The funniest is when they were like, no, we don't want to go, and then like 12 hours later they start firing cannons for them to come get them.
yeah, it was an opportunity to for Cheap to make another stand and like announce that he was still the leader of the group too. Because his leadership was clearly wavering at this point.
So Grand's right. God, I actually laughed out loud at one of the. I think it was when like they went out to them and they're like, "Hey, you got to come on the island," and they were just like, "No, we're not coming." And then like maybe the next sentence or the next paragraph, like they had decided that they wanted to come.
All right, we're coming.
All
All right, Chapter 9, The Beast. Food became the key focus of the group. Like many, Byron now looked for any signs of land animals. Besides the birds, none were to be found. Byron did find a cask of beef that washed ashore among the wreck. With that, they turned their focus to shelter, using the castaway boats as a makeshift house. Byron spent the following day looking for anything, but could only discover additional birds and small bits of celery. Taking in his surroundings, he noted that there seemed to be no escape. Not much from this chapter. Anyone have anything?
Okay, same strategy as the endurance team, flipping the lifeboats upside down, using them as a shelter.
Yeah. Seems like,
So survivalist strat.
yeah.
This is like if the endurance crew was trapped on Elephant Island the whole time, which is like where they ended up after
Before they took the 3 boats, or they took the 1 boat for.
yeah. They were on that like small little beach.
Yeah, but I guess it is interesting that we could talk about the difference between the endurance and this group on the wager, because the endurance really, I mean, they had fighting a little bit, but they never truly turned on each other. And this group turned almost immediately, and you can easily point to the leadership, but I think you could also point to the fact that the endurance had a bunch of people that were experienced at sea too, and like everyone that went on that ship was well experienced, and
And I feel like they knew each other too.
Yeah.
Like there was only like what 40 men versus like 250. So I feel like you had a lot more close relationships. Like you said, I mean, Ernest Shackleton is still talked about today as one of the best leaders ever, just because of what he did with that
He
group.
he literally
No,
chose the group too. Like,
Yeah.
did
yeah,
he pick every
and
single person?
Yeah, he was handpicking. But that's a quality sign of a good leader too, picking people that are competent and trustworthy.
I think the main difference between Shackleton and Cheap is Shackleton knew how to squash mutiny, and the way he did it was he made decisions. Like it didn't matter if it was the right or the wrong decision. Shackleton just said, "Okay, we're doing this."
Yeah.
Like he had an action plan, whereas Cheap kind of sits idly by, and he's committed to this war that no one really feels a purpose for.
he's also like never
Nope.
done it before. Like Cheap, it feels like is like this imposter syndrome almost, where he's like, oh, I need to like do this because I need to show that I can be a good captain, or even like his plan to like leave.
So he just doesn't tell them.
Deciding to go try to take a merchant ship when you're literally like half starved to death. Like it sounds like literally the worst idea I've ever heard.
He also just doesn't tell them what their goal is, so they're just sailing and they have no clue what they're actually doing. So it's like no wonder they turned on him. He probably should have brought that card out sooner that like the British government sent him something. Someone's tapping on their desk a lot and it's making a lot of noise, just by the way. But
Franklin Graves was another one who just said, "Okay, we're gonna do this
Yeah.
snowshoe party." Probably a reason they got out is that a decision was just made.
Yeah.
And our boy here, David Cheap, is just
it is something to learn when you're in
What
the
is he?
plot.
Do we dare nominate him for Motor Moron of the Year, or is it too early?
I don't think
We
he's
see
a
how the
motor
rest-
moron. I just think he's not that great of a leader. I don't.
He shows shades of like he has good qualities. I don't know if he's a good captain.
Yeah.
Of a ship.
He's also severely injured too. You know, it's like
Yeah, when I said his bone, I think that's another point I laughed at. Like his bone is just literally like out of his shoulder.
It's tough
Weird.
for
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, you go. I was
I
gonna
was
talk about something else.
They said his shoulder bone was like through his collarbone, which is wild. How does that even happen?
What was I even gonna say? Shit.
Sorry.
Wait for it. Oh yeah, it's tough when Bulkley is like the kind of Cheap's rival, and he seems to be more put together and organized and seems more fit for the job. And it's tough for Cheap because he went down, and while he was down, Bulkley was the one kind of making the decisions, and that was like the only good thing that occurred during the shipwreck was like him getting everybody to land and whatnot. And then after that, like all of these men are just like, why would we trust Cheap when every decision seems to be just going poorly? Like
Yep.
there's that kind of psychology portion to it too for all the men that are following him.
All right. Chapter 10, Our New Town. Cheap focused on his morning most pressing matter, retaining control. He gathered everyone, reading from the Articles of War. Next, he focused on salvaging all they could from the ship, tasking John Buckley as the mission's leader. The mission was successful over the next couple of days, and the supplies were all accounted for and gathered in Cheap's tent. To retain control, he must retain the supplies, most significantly the ammunition. While the situation was unstable, for now, the group had a purpose. Given this, a sense of calmness came upon them. This was aided by the celery healing their scurvy, although they didn't know that. Soon enough, Byron discovered edible seaweed among the rocks, providing a stable food source. With others, he frequently went along the coastline hunting for birds. Meanwhile, John Bulkley, worked with the others to make encampments out of logs and leaves, using canvas as curtains for privacy. After a while, Byron acknowledged that they had formed a town of sorts, no less than 18 structures divided by social class. Taking the opportunity to name their surroundings, even the island, Wager Island. Soon enough, the provisions were running low, and starvation was facing them down the barrel. Thieves in the night continued to raid the supplies and other food supplies that were available. On a trip out to the Wager, they discover a dead seaman, seemingly strangled. Byron suspected Mitchell, but didn't accuse him directly. So kind of the same thing. I mean, they get a glimpse of hope, but all their provisions start running out pretty fast, and birds and seaweed aren't enough to feed you, surprisingly. So, and then we're introduced to the thing that's ultimately going to divide them, which was the thieves. But it's no surprise when you start starving, you kind of focus on yourself and.
I'm shocked it took him like a couple weeks to put like watches on the food supplies. Like you'd think that like that's a reasonable like step. Like, oh, someone's stealing from us. Let's have people on watch. And
Also, securing all the guns is like got to be the first thing you do. If you have the guns, you have the power. So, like you'll see later that Bulkley is kind of able to get his own weaponry at a certain point from Cheap, and that ultimately turns the tides. Like once he has weapons, he feels confident enough to make a move.
Something I forgot about from the last chapter. I'm thinking it was from that chapter, guessing on its name, the Beast. What was that part about the guy in the tent and he thought the Beast was like right over his face, and then he like claimed that he narrowly escaped? Like if there's a beast standing like right over your face, you're not escaping, or you'd at least see it. And like, was that just like hallucination?
yeah, I was a
They
little
were
bit
all
confused with that too. I thought it was like a bear or something.
I
Like,
kind of forgot about that thing altogether.
yeah.
I think that they're starting to go mad a little bit. I don't think like predators of that size live on an island where there's
Yeah.
very little to keep them fed.
Maybe a seal. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea what that was. All right, chapter 11, Nomads of the Sea. The group made their first encounter with the local indigenous tribe, Kaweskars. They're nicknamed the Nomads of the Sea. Due to their dependency on sea life and their frequent use of canoes to constantly move around the coastline, they were skilled navigators and knew how to use the few natural resources to their best ability. European groups, driven by racism, pinned these groups as cannibals, but they simply lacked the understanding of the people. For now, Byron convinced the group of Kaweskars to join them on land, leading them to Cheap. At this moment, they needed their knowledge, and therefore they showered them with gifts. With that, they departed. After 2 days, they returned with food and a couple of sheep. That wasn't all. They soon brought their families and began erecting structures, integrating themselves with the Europeans. However, Mitchell and a few others continued to steal supplies, now from the indigenous group. They were rightfully offended and soon left, leaving the group once again alone. I mean, what a by Mitchell. I mean, you have a group that is helping you feed yourself, and you just immediately try to steal from them.
They're basically
But
making
it's literally the classic old tale of the Europeans and even Americans with the native
I did
native
write.
people.
I wrote in our app. I wrote. David Grant does a good job at making fun of Europeans when they're doing stupid things and miscalculating indigenous people. I thought he had some good humor in this chapter. Like, what are these guys doing?
Um, I think not only were Mitchell and them stealing, but they were hitting on the. They were making advances on the Questgar women.
I thought this chapter was the best chapter of the first part.
Yeah, it was
That's really cool.
Yeah,
This is like the last thing I expected during this book was to hear about somebody that could dive 30 feet down and hold their breath for like minutes and catch fish with their hands and stuff like that. I was just
Yeah.
like, what am I reading?
enjoyed hearing about all like the
Pretty
how
cool.
they use like each part of the like seals or whales for like each.
Yeah, they were basically
They
just
have, like,
shirtless, and all the Europeans were sitting around in layers. Like, it was like very cold out, and the Europeans were like, "How are these people not freezing? They're shirtless," but they were just using the blubber and the oil from like seals to just bathe themselves in it. And
like
to heat.
Vaseline almost.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Getting lubed up.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a very interesting chapter.
They were actually oiled up. I
Yeah.
laughed. I laughed when Grant said that they oiled themselves.
That's pretty-
I posted a video on this chapter in Fable in our Fable book club. So if anyone's interested in the Kawasaki a little bit further, there's a 5-minute video on them.
They had like a symbiotic relationship with their dogs as well, which was really cool.
hmm Big dog people, which makes me like 'em. All right, we move to chapter 12, The Lord of Mount Misery. The camp continued to spiral. Cheap was forced to cut rations. Soon enough, groups started to break away. Mitchell and his 9 outlaws were among the first. In addition, Mitchell was already suspected of potentially killing 2 sailors. Robert Pemberton and the army also broke off the main group, soon turning his group, soon turning his group in the trust of John Bulkley, who had been storing ammunition and supplies in secret. Soon enough, the focus turned on the dwindling supplies. Constant thievery worked to threaten the short supplies. With that, Cheap directed the officers to watch the tent. Soon enough, they caught several of them within a short time span. With growing tensions, the group demanded the prisoners to be sentenced to death, but Cheap stuck to Navy protocol. Given this, a trial commenced. All 3 thieves were found guilty, sentenced to 600 lashes, and sent to a nearby rocky islet. Despite the efforts, the robberies did not stop, and the punishments continued to escalate. The lashes sounded brutal.
600.
I mean, that's almost better at this point. I mean, like,
Some people's fantasies.
Okay, whoa.
Glass half orange, or glass full, glass half empty.
Oh, glass half
Making me
orange.
stumble over my words thinking about it.
All
uh,
right. Tyler's next question is, how would you punish people?
Well, Tyler, you obviously had thoughts, so take it away.
Well, I mean, the ultimate you got to decide.
I mean,
You got to decide between killing them and giving them a right trial. What would you do? It's not an
I would be as
easy
patient
decision.
and cheap, honestly. But
Yeah.
kudos to him, I guess, for going through the trial.
I thought that question had a different connotation,
Okay.
so my apologies.
Yeah, that's just in your mind. All right, we move to chapter 13, Extremities. Long summary I wrote here, but I thought it summed up the chapter well enough. Cheap loses more control, can't deal with a drunk guy, shoots the drunk guy, rip Henry Cousins. That is what happened in that chapter.
I think this is the turning point
Yeah.
of the whole book thus far, at least against Captain Cheap, because I feel like, yeah, there were some factions maybe weren't too happy with Cheap, but after he killed Cousins, I feel like that was kind of like the end all be all, and it was like there's no going back after that.
Yeah, I mean, especially since I think when you had the previous chapter where they were talking about despite everyone demanding death of these thieves, he lets them go. And like Henry Cheap, he then ultimately just turns on Henry Cheap because he's kind of drunk and
Henry Cousins.
Yeah, cousin, sorry. And defies him. He kills him because he's defying him, and he feels his power slipping, and he basically goes on a power trip.
Shout out J. Cole.
Shout out J. Cole.
I think Cousins unknowingly sacrificed his life here for the lives of many other people, because now they have an excuse to establish like a second order. Like they have an excuse for a mutiny.
Yeah.
Whereas before they had no excuse. And so now they have a chance to use Magellan's Pass and escape their current predicament. So I think Henry Cousins might be the GOAT of this book.
He also like survived like what 3 weeks
Yeah.
after the shooting. Like I don't know how he's
Yeah,
been shot in the head.
that was wild.
So they said 3 inches.
It was like
Say
right here. I think he
inches
got shot.
below the eye or in.
I think it was like his cheek.
I think it was
bone.
below, actually, now that I think about it.
So they talk about his jaw. His jaw was fractured, and
Imagine just
yeah.
having a piece of metal like just wedged.
And then imagine no anesthesia, and the surgeon is not a surgeon. He's actually
You have the intern. You have the intern going there, just like playing operation on your face.
he's using a surgeon's book as he operates on him.
And
That's not even accurate.
And one of the chapters like just praise God.
Yeah.
And, like hope you get it out.
It's basically take a shot of rum and hope you get it right. Chapter 14, Affections of the People. Captain Cheap had shot the man, and everyone was stunned into silence. What was going to happen next? Cheap took the opportunity to seize control and remind everyone of his position. The interesting part, Cousins didn't die. He was taken to the surgery tent, where the surgeon refused to perform an operation. Rumors spread that Cheap was preventing it, so Robert attempted it himself. First surgery was successful, and he removed the wound. When Cousins asked to be moved to Bulkley's tent, Cheap refused, saying he would be hanged when he recovered. Then, Robert attempted a second surgery to remove the fragments. It was too much for Cousins. In a last request, the bullet fragments were given to John Bulkley as evidence. So it kind of becomes their main point for the trial that we're eventually going to clearly get to.
Cousins sacrificed himself. I forgot about that evidence piece too.
Yeah, Sam, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's kind of been slipping in the pieces of evidence. I was sure there'll be bigger points later on, but keep your mental notes.
It's a crazy thing to think about, like in this situation. Like he's having the confidence and that you're gonna survive and the whereabouts to grab this evidence while you're in like this dire of a situation.
Can we add a piece at the end of this meeting? Predictions on trial judgment.
Yeah, we'll do it at our thoughts after our thoughts of the book. We'll include that there.
Yeah. All right, chapter 15, The Ark. The carpenter Cummins presented a plan. If they could rescue the longboat, they could make an ark. Cheap fearing losing further control, decided to pursue the plan in haste. Cummins estimated it would take the group months to start. John Bulkley was sent to negotiate with separatist William Orem. With an amnesty clause, he returned. For months they worked. Cheap now began to hatch a new plan, one that involved fulfilling his mission in Chile and gaining redemption. Meanwhile, in July, Bulkley worked at charting a different course, one that conflicted directly with Cheap. It would have them head south to the Strait of Magellan, back into the Atlantic, and into the Rio Grande in neutral Brazil. I just said look at maps in the back of books if you want to see their routes. The group was now officially split into two groups, one led by John Bulkley and the other by Cheap and his small group. Byron sat in the middle, contemplating the right choice. Cummins and Bulkley went to Cheap's tent, hoping to reason with them. There, they discovered that Cheap was set in his ways. The group were now officially divided. As such, they took to gathering arms to their respective sides, preparing for the worst. So Bulkley kind of gives them a chance to be like, "Hey, dude, your plan makes no sense." Just kind of funny because like the book highly insinuates they both make it back. I mean, I guess that's not really a spoiler, but based on what the book, but it is interesting the different plans they hatch out.
Just like the thought of like thinking you're gonna be able to overthrow a full ship of people with like when you're literally like a ragtag like castaway is just insane. With like your musket, like there was that one line where he's like, "Sir, we only have muskets," and he's like, "So." I don't know.
I know cheap does seem like, dude, how are we gonna actually like you're gonna face a Spanish ship with cannons and you're gonna approach it with just some muskets and hope that you could sort of overthrow them? You know, it is ridiculous, but
But I'm kind of glad though that Grant has kind of provided this context on Cheap, like his thought process, because I mean it's easy to see why he wants it, just because he doesn't want to be seen as a failure, and he wants to kind of make it up to Captain, was it Anson, and
Yeah.
kind of show that he like followed through with the mission. So like I get his point of view. It's just like at this point, like, don't you just want your people to return alive?
I thought the part where Bulkley and Cheap were like negotiating, I thought that part was really weird because Cheap was like he was almost listening to him. And I think to your point, Jared, he was just so like he was like, I'm already this deep. I just gotta go all the way in here. Like I think that's the decision he made, but I think he deep down was kind of questioning even making his own decision. He just didn't want to give Bulkley like the
ammunition.
yeah. So because that conversation like Cheap like kept he was actually I was surprised they actually had like a full conversation like going back and forth and we're like negotiating where because I assumed it was gonna be more of just a straight up argument, but
I think I think Cheap's decision comes from the fact that Gran emphasizes it like many times that um his like entire purpose in life is being a captain. Like this was his goal. He's fulfilling that prophecy currently, and I think anything short of doing what he set out to do is failure, and he doesn't want to fail at his first attempt at captaining a ship.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Redemption. He's after glory. He's a glory seeker.
He's trying to make a name for himself.
All right. With that, chapter 16, My Mutineers, last chapter. On August 17th, or wow, I just blatantly lied about the date that I was reading there. All right. On August 27th, Bulkley met with his group, prepared to tackle the subject of mutiny. They agreed they had to proceed carefully. With that, the first step was acquiring the backing of Lieutenant Baines. Baines concluded that he agreed under one condition: they approached Cheap with a final opportunity. If Cheap balked at their request, they would justify their mutiny by claiming Cheap had lost control when he killed Cousins. Now that everything was finalized, they approached Cheap's tent. He responded in rage. When he stepped outside to confront Baines immediately faltered. Bulkley was forced to retreat for now. Tensions continued to rise as more members of Cheap's inner circle began to desert. By October 5th, the rations were becoming almost non-existent. However, they had finished the Speedwell, which was their new ship, the ship that offered them possible salvation. On October 9th, Bulkley struck, gathering arms and marching towards Cheap's tent. Once there, they took Cheap prisoner. With him subdued, they were ready to take off. planning to leave Cheap and whoever wanted to follow him behind. With him, they would leave the shittiest of the 4 boats and a few supplies. Joining him would be Hamilton and 7 succeeders. Mitchell had died by this point. Now everything was complete. On October 14th, they departed, 81 men in total. So they kind of leave Cheap with the drunks, the original separatists, and Hamilton. So a ragtag group, and the other 81 of them just. So you can clearly see that most people had decided what side they want to be on.
Who the? They've mentioned him like a couple times, but there's
Isn't
no
that the
back.
surgeon? Or is he
He's
different?
I think he's a lieutenant, but they've barely mentioned him.
Oh, is he the guy that's the head of the Marines or the?
No, that's Pennington.
See, I'm having trouble
Army.
keeping him.
I'll look. I'm using the index. I will try to
Didn't even know there was an index.
page 34. We're introduced to him.
I don't know if there's background. I think it's just his name.
If you're in this situation, what are you?
Yeah, he was a lieutenant.
Are we all hopping on with Bulkley here?
He was relocated. He was relocated after he got in a knife fight. On
No one
another
cares
ship.
about this guy. No one cares about Hamilton.
But you guys asked a question. I answered.
I was legitimately curious.
No, I know, same. I keep reading his name and I keep thinking it's Alexander Hamilton from.
It's just like I was gonna say, Kevin loves Alexander Hamilton.
Terrible.
From the Broadway play.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seen it twice.
Okay, go ahead.
We're all on Bulkley's side. Like, if you had to choose what you were gonna do here, would you? Everyone's with Bulkley, I'm guessing.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
yeah. I think you have to.
I'm just a C man. I'm out of there. I don't give a
C-man.
fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you owe Cheap nothing because you're like, we failed, dude. Like I'm going home.
They talked about how they they didn't even know if they were getting wages anymore. So like they were like, we have no allegiance to this because like since they were wrecked and they were no longer on a boat, they're like, I don't think the British Navy is going to even honor our wages at this point. So you're truly just by yourself at that point.
I'm going to Rio and starting a new life. When we get there, I'm like, peace, everybody.
Hang out with the Portuguese.
The only consideration you have to make, and I think Jared's point there solves this, is that you're going to be tried and found guilty back in Britain, which I think you just start a new life.
Yeah.
Is that your prediction then that they're all going to be found guilty?
I think that the I think that Britain, the nation, is going to side with the captains. I think Britain is like an interesting social structure. I think that they're going to side with the elite in this scenario, and they're going to side with like those that upheld the law, because siding with the mutineers leaves openings for future mutiny. It's like what do you call it in law when there's like a previous ruling that you use in the current
Precedent?
ruling? It establishes precedent for future mutiny.
Should you just wink?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You like that?
I agree. Disregard what you just said. I agree with Christian. That was my thought process too. You're setting an unwanted precedent for the future, and literally an unwanted precedent. So
I feel like there's a chance. I sort of agree with you guys, but I feel like I see the seed of doubt in my head that they may just hang David Cheap and call him a terrible captain.
yeah, the fact that Bulkley's collecting evidence,
Yeah.
it makes it. I think it will be an interesting case.
Do you think
Just-
Baines will switch side again? Like he'll get to the trial and just flake again?
Could.
That's to note we are doing our predictions for the future of the book. So
Yeah,
go on and just spew it. Go.
I mean, that's all. That's
yeah.
I was gonna say, I think one point is it depends on what happens to the other 3 ships because I think you have a much stronger case if the Wager's the only one that shipwrecks and everybody else survives, because then you can really be like, well, I mean, David Cheap was like not a great captain, and I feel like you have a little bit more leverage there. So I think it depends what happens with the rest of the party.
Yeah.
It's going to play a factor into it. But yeah, I'm interested to see.
Yeah, should be
Yeah.
interesting.
Survival of the other ships is kind of a dual-edged sword because, yeah, on one hand you could call Cheap incompetent, but on the other hand you could say maybe Cheap was right in attempting to rendezvous with the other 3 or 4 ships.
But wasn't the president like only to stay 45 days, and then after that they were gone? Like, wasn't
True.
that and it's been
Yeah.
like over like what, 2 months now, 3 months?
Yeah, they landed in May, and I don't know.
It's July now, so
Yeah.
so I
Been
think they
long
wouldn't
enough.
be. Yeah, so I think it was like a interesting
Over.
topic that they never talked about again, or at least haven't talked about since. Was that even if they were waiting, they would have been gone by now because they assumed that. But interesting. I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah. I feel like we're about to get a whole different like book in the second half.
Yeah, it is interesting. We only have 80 more pages, and they still have the entire mission to get back home from both ships and the trial. So it is.
Isn't this how Killers of the Flower Moon was written too, though? Like, wasn't it the first half of the book was like the story, and the second half was more of like Mike White or Mike Brown, and like the
Yeah.
sheriff. And
Yeah, but I don't know if they're gonna switch perspectives. I don't know.
No, I don't.
They did speed through like the court proceedings, and David Gran did speed through the court proceedings in Killers of the Flower Moon as well.
It'll be interesting, I guess. Thoughts on the book overall? How are we feeling?
My classic answer of first few chapters were long and set up at boring, but I think I actually enjoyed the first few chapters more so than I did in past books. Like, they actually did a good job setting stuff up, and the background information actually is useful to the rest of the chapters. And now these past, what's been like 6, 7, 8 chapters that are just like 10 pages. They've just been like ripping off, and everything in them, it seems pretty interesting. So the latter half of the reading,
It's definitely fast paced.
yeah, it was fast paced and pretty enjoyable in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I like, I would say it is another book that is a little hard to relate to some characters so far. Like there is Bulkley and there is Cheap, but besides that, I mean, it's some of the characters are just like they keep mentioning them, and you're like Hamilton, you're like, oh.
Oh, you at least look at the back of the book. I just be like, well, don't know who that is. Keep going.
But yeah, I mean,
It's fine.
I would say, I mean, it's not. For right now, it's not tracking as well as Killers of the Flower Moon for sure. But I'm interested.
Yeah. That's my conclusion as well. But I don't think that this book could have failed. Like I think you're gonna get a solid score from this book. I think it has promise.
I almost wonder if it's been overhyped a little bit. Like, it's not a bad thing because it's still been solid, like we've said. But like, David Grant obviously got huge after Killers of the Flower Moon. People, New York Times #1 bestseller, Barnes and Noble Book of the Year. Like, there's like a lot, and I don't know if I was expecting too much out of it. And
Yeah.
hopefully the ending is a little, maybe picks up for where all these accolades have come from. But I'm interested to see because like we said, right now I don't think it's tracking to be as well as Killers of the Flower Moon or even maybe some of our upper echelon scores that we've given thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited
know.
to see what happens though. Like I'm definitely gonna read this tomorrow and be, try to finish as much as I can. So I'm excited to pick it up. I'll say that.
No, I'm excited to see where it goes. I think the best is to come, but I'm interested.
Yeah. All right. Seems like a good point to stop this meeting. As a reminder, we are on Fable, so follow us there if you want to see our thoughts as we've written them, and then thoughts before the meeting. This video gets released and the other meeting. So,
Yeah, feel free to add comments, questions.
we'll probably be on the
We'll
next
address
book by the time you see this. But
Maybe we should tell the Fable people to come to the podcast
probably
because I feel like that might generate a following faster.
Yeah, I need to do that after this meeting. I'm gonna incorporate all this stuff onto the table because Tyler made me a co-moderator, so I think I can edit stuff now. So
I just figured out how to do that.
And when people leave comments in the Fable, we can view them before our book club meetings, and we can even give you guys shout outs if you guys have any good thoughts that we want to bring up in the meetings. And
Shout
I
out.
think what I'm going to do is to get us on the same schedule with our fables. I'm just going to speed through the different stars above and just release some back to back to back in like subsequent days because it was our lowest rated book. It was
Just Kevin.
I mean our conversation was a little bit interesting, but I think we can just
you just post a video of Tyler eating human flesh, and we can.
With the seasoning of his choice.
Yeah, right.
It's supposed to snake draft.
All right, and
Yeah,
that's a great place to stop.
I'll probably just release them just so we have them for our records, but I won't put I'll just maybe combine them all or whatever we'll do.
Super Cup. When we get back,
Yeah.
we're playing Scribblia.
All right, welcome back to Scriblio. This is the part where we put a list of words into this fun game and someone draws and the others try to guess, and you rack up points for others guessing your drawing or you guessing others' drawings, and we play 4 rounds and the winner wins.
That's brilliantly explained.
Tune into the YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're listening to this on podcast version, definitely go to the YouTube to make fun of our drawings.
Round 1. Jar is choosing a word.
I thought that was actually the game.
Fight.
Draw.
Yep. Yep. It won't let me type.
Waves.
Got it.
Kevin doesn't get
Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, Kevin.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, 4 seconds.
Oh God,
Bad
that's
start.
tough.
Bad start there, buddy.
I honestly, I did not know that was a word. Didn't study the board bank hard enough. Gotta blame myself.
That's a table.
We're drawing.
Par.
Oh, I know this.
Oh,
Jared gave it away to me because I couldn't spell.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't spell it. This is ridiculous.
No.
Oh, it was 2 S's.
Oh no.
It's tragic. Me versus spelling a tale all this time.
God, oh God, oh God, oh God.
That's not a muscle.
I don't know.
Tell me that's not a muscle. Did someone spell muscle wrong? Is that where?
What is happening? What's happening?
It's definitely.
It's definitely a spelling mistake. I'm just trying to type in anything now.
I
Oh,
did
dear
this
God.
one.
I don't know what's going on.
I mean, I'm just trying to guess anything. he's lost control.
Oh.
You guys are buffoons.
How do you spell it?
I had an S.
Muscles, but it's just spelled wrong.
No, I think that's how you spell the food version of it.
Yeah,
We're just idiots.
it was the
Okay.
food version. But I had an S at the end.
Yeah. I'm currently sitting at almost
Oh my
0.
God, what is
Whoa.
happening?
Oh, what a guess.
I don't know.
S.
There's a
What is this thin?
How did you guys guess this?
This is possibly the worst drawing I've ever seen.
but you got it.
Because I've been guessing it. I've been guessing at first. Everything. That was pure luck that I got it.
I love Scribblio, man.
Oh, I'm struggling here. Oh, I thought that was me.
Christian got it. Oh no.
Oh wow.
This might be my best drawing ever.
Wow.
I got it.
Commitment to 3D. Oh Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was me when I saw my words last time. And I chose muscles.
Yeah, I drew the other version of it.
Oh no, that's tragic.
Oh no, oh no,
Oh
Kevin.
no.
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
you got it. Christian's up by a lot.
Yeah, Christian's got it
No.
massively.
Actually, I'm catching up kind of. I don't know how.
Only round 2. Can be lost fast.
Damn it.
Damn.
Bang.
Damn.
Bang. We're back.
The weight of guessing the word first is so heavy.
It is.
Tyler, can we change those settings next time?
I don't know. The first part of that was a mistake.
What?
How did Jared get this so fast?
I'm on fire right now. I don't know why. After my spelling mistake.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, no, oh no. No, no.
Oh,
Really? Really?
it's a pistol.
Jared's up now.
Jared running away, but we still got a lot
Dead
of rounds
last.
left.
Oh no.
I think Jared guessed first that entire round.
I'm in trouble with this one. I don't know how I'm gonna draw this.
That's a river.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
How did you guess that?
I started guessing random shit. One of the I remembered one of the harder ones.
This is a hard one to draw. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to draw anything better than this. This is a bad drawing.
Think about wet butthole.
See, this is them studying the word bank.
I just knew when Christian said that because we had literally said, "How do you draw mutiny?"
The other ones were literally the two words I already had guessed, so I already had done.
That's honestly what I would have drawn too. It's actually not bad.
Soda.
I have no idea what this. Salt, pepper.
Close.
What the?
I don't know. Is that a donut? Sprinkle? Sugar?
Sprinkle.
Oh, that's good.
Oh God.
Dumplings.
Don't even know what this is. Oh.
Oh. Damn.
Yeah, we like both got it at the same time.
I think you saying "oh" like.
I don't know why it took me so long. to get
Oh
that.
no way! It was with an S. I don't think I even guessed with an S.
Tyler got
Okay.
screwed there. Because Tyler said
His face.
I always finish in last place in these. I don't know. Oh no,
Loading
that something.
sea turd.
I can't type right now.
This is a rough try.
It's not over with.
It's not done yet.
Let him cook.
It's not bad now.
What are we doing, Bray? What is this? Oh,
That was a good drawing, actually.
You gotta let me cook for a second. You can't just.
It's fair. It's fair.
Gotta let me cook. Oh no.
That's water.
oh,
Wow.
Yeah,
Who even got that first?
me.
Well, what is this now?
Oh, I screwed this up. I screwed this up. I screwed this up.
yes,
I screwed this up.
Tyler.
What?
Screw it once.
How did I get screwed out of that?
Because I drew the wrong one. I
You
drew
drew
longitude.
launch. Yeah.
That-
That's why I guess the longitude
not-
first.
You were guessing longitude, and I looked, and I was like, "Huh, that's not it." And I was like,
You guys deserve motor moron for that.
I guessed longitude first, and then I just guessed latitude.
This guy's got a big head. What the hell is this?
Oh, I think I know. I know what it is. No, screw. I gave it away.
Oh my god, both of you.
This is insane.
Oh my god. What am I watching?
Jared's gonna blow his lead over this. This is.
What am I watching?
Oh,
Oh no! Oh no! Oh, I can't believe he's gonna blow his lead over this.
this is insane. How did I not get this? I before E. Oh my god.
I before E, except after C.
I think it's the win, but you guys are closing in on him.
Damn it! It's over. It's over, folks. What is this?
I have no idea what this is.
Is it brown? Oh, I know it. What?
I basically gave you guys the answer.
It's not logwood. Is there logs?
Oh, for real?
I don't even know. So, I guess I have one choice. I don't know how I'm gonna draw this.
Why is it so big now?
I'm mixing it up.
What are we doing here?
It's just a black square.
Just pretend that's white.
Oh,
I mean, it's not like that was impossible. You didn't have to say pretend that was light. I mean,
a close battle.
Sort of. I feel like Jared
Jared
won
was
by
on fire.
Jared won by
Yeah.
a bit there.
I was on fire guessing, except my spelling was suspect.
I may have to go
Yeah.
back to just allowing me to see the word bank.
Yeah, you need the elevated advantages you can get.
You need the handicap.
Well, because I'll never win anyways, because I suck at drawing. But
No, guessing is what
Yeah,
gives
it's
you the
all about
points.
guessing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some scoundrels
suck.
going on here.
What does that mean?
Scoundrels.
We're
gonna-
throwing the game.
Let's see if
We're
that's a
throwing the
word.
game.
I'm gonna find a way to start penalizing for wrong guesses.
Scoundrelism. What a
How would
word.
you punish?
Yeah,
Yeah.
people are wondering.
Finish.
Well, I'm gonna look on some sites to see what I could do.
Okay, you do that.
I think there's a lot of early guessing going on. Not necessarily. No, let's see. All right. Well,
Yeah.
so
anyways.
transition us.
Okay. Well, with that concludes episode 34. For next week's episode, we will be finishing The Wager, finishing up chapters 17 through the end. It's only about 80 or so pages, so it should be a short read. Yeah, like we mentioned, continue to follow us on Fable and some of our other platforms. We will be continuing to post content, but we will be shifting from the Discord that never really took off to Fable in hopes to attract some more of a community. And next week, me and Christian will be nominating our next books. So have something to look forward there, see what we'll be reading next. But yeah, looking forward to another great episode. We'll see you guys later.
Snake draft. Bye bye.
Oh, Snake Draft too.